Alright, first we'll start off with the tools that you've probably got lying around at home. Then later on we'll have a look at a couple of ones that you'll have to buy to make life a bit easier when you're repairing clocks. First off, we'll start off with screwdrivers. General purpose screwdriver that we use for most of our clock work. So I get a measurement here, get it online, here we go. We've got about a 4mm blade on it. That covers the majority of screws that we get in clocks, American clocks, etc. One of those. The other screwdriver that'll come in very handy is a long one like so, simply because many clocks, American clocks specifically, are quite deep and you're not going to be able to reach the screws that hold the movement in with a small screwdriver like that. So hence the long shaft one comes in very handy. The other screwdriver that is excellent, the other screwdriver that's very handy to have, is a screw holding screwdriver. You'll notice the blade closes up when I slide that piece down. It's very handy to have. I'll put a link to that below in the comment section where you can get one of those. They make it a lot easier when you're reaching inside a clock movement and putting screws in, that you don't have much room to maneuver your fingers around. Screwdrivers, alright. Next one, pliers. Long nose pliers. And I've got this extra long pair I got from Time Savers in America a long time ago. They're excellent for tightening up the internal coil on a mainspring. If it's sliding on an arbor, you can get right in nice and deep with those. They're very good. The other one you'll need is a pair of square nose pliers. They come in quite handy also for many jobs. You'll need something to support your movement while you're working on it. This is just a piece of PVC pipe, 4-inch PVC pipe that I've cut. It's 5mm, what's that, about 2 inches high, and it's sufficiently wide for the movement to hang over the sides, sit on top flat. It makes it quite easy when you're working on a clock movement. I forgot to mention cutters. You'll need cutters, pair of cutters, wire cutters for cutting springs, etc. on American clocks. An alternative to our PVC pipe, you can procure these, you can buy these. I'm pretty sure Time Savers have them. I'll put a link in the description below. They're very handy for screwing onto a movement. The movement goes in there, you tighten it up, and then the 3 of these sit like that. The movement sits on top, and there's sufficient height there to keep everything well off your desk, including minute arbors, etc. Or there's another alternative to those, which I've got here, pieces of dowel. 4 pieces of dowel. They're 2.5 inches long. What I've done is I've drilled a small hole in the top of each one so that we can screw the legs that hold the movement into a clock case. We can screw down into those and they just sit like so. and the movement sits on top. A cheaper version than the brass ones I just showed you a moment ago. Something you'll have to buy because you'll have to use them, guaranteed, when you're containing a mainspring. These come in sets of 4. There's only 3 here because the other one I've currently got sitting on a clock movement. But you need these for constraining your mainsprings when you're taking the movement apart. If you don't use these, the mainspring is liable to explode open and you'll destroy wheels, break teeth off wheels, etc, etc. Once again, I'll put a link to these in the comments section below. Clock oil. General purpose cheap clock oil. Comes from Time Savers in the US once again. Very handy when you're first starting off. Later on you'll get into far more expensive oils when you start doing better quality clocks, English clocks and French clocks, etc. Mobius oils. But in the meantime, when you're first starting, you just need a general purpose clock oil. Don't use DW40. It's not a lubricant. It's a dewatering agent and it will make a horrible mess of your clock movement. Pair of tweezers. You'll need probably 2, a fine one and a coarse one with a big, much wider tip on it. They come in handy, you use them all the time. Another tool you'll have to buy is not expensive, but is an important tool to have. It's a let-down tool for letting down mainsprings in clocks. It's used in conjunction with the mainspring clamp. And how you use that is you tighten up the spring, put the clamp over it, put the let-down tool onto the winding arbor, put a screwdriver into the click, and I'll show you how to do that later on, and then slowly let the mainspring wind down until all the pressure is taken by the clamp, and then it's safe to take the movement apart. Another thing that comes in very handy is a loop or an eyeglass. Later on you may well get one of these. It's a similar thing, it sits on your head, you don't have to put it into your eye, whereas the eyeglass gets held in your eye like so, and the various magnifications. This is 3.5. You don't want to go much above 4 because you'll have to get very, very close to the object that you're looking at to be able to see it correctly. Otherwise it'll all be blurry. Something else that'll come in very handy is some blue tack. This is actually white tack, a different brand. When you're first starting off and putting wheels into a movement and getting them set up, when you lift your movement and change the orientation of it, wheels turn and fall out. Initially you can use this blue tack, put a little bit on the wheel, hold it in place, put the next one in, align it, put that in place, and then you can gradually work up the train doing all that, so that when you put the top plate on, everything's there. They're not going to twist and turn and move around all over the place. So that's something that's very good to have. Well, that's about all for that. As you can see, most of the items you've probably got lying around the house somewhere or other already. I'll plonk them back on there again. That screwdriver there, the let-down tool, mainspring clamps, and the oil. I'll put a link for those, and also these brass legs in the comment section below, and I'll also put a photo in the video so that you can see and where to get them in the UK and in the US. So that'll give you a good start for the lessons that we're going to run through, how to take an American clock to pieces, a bit at a time. We'll do it nice and slowly, so that you can understand every piece as we go along. And yeah, that's pretty much it actually. If you want to learn how to service, repair and restore 19th and 20th century mechanical clocks, then subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell.